Allison. I'm a vocational rehab counselor with the PAVE program. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about how to apply for a federal position. Today, like I said, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how to apply to a federal job. This can take a long time overall. If you have additional questions afterwards, you can definitely link up with one of the PAVE counselors and employment analysts for more assistance. Also, you'll be able to access this later. But I just want to give a quick disclosure. It's just going to be a general overview. I'm not going to go into detail because that could take hours, but we're here to help if you have any other questions afterwards. Today, a general overview, how to create a profile, navigating USA jobs. We'll talk a little bit about hiring paths, preference, hiring authority, and what supporting documentation you need to attach to your application, job posting, and tips. So when you first want to look or apply for a federal job, you of course need to go to usajobs.gov. Here's kind of a screenshot of an overview of what it looks like. When you scroll down the page, you'll see a big red box that says create a profile or sign in. That's where you can create your initial profile and log in if you already have to update your profile. The profile is going to be where you add everything from your name, your address, your email, phone number, everything that the employer is going to need to be able to get in contact with you, as well as adding your resumes and other supporting documentation. Once you've created a profile, it can be, when you're in the initial stages, it can be extremely overwhelming. It can take a long time, but just know that once everything's in there, it's all saved. So you're only going to have to do it once. If you put the time in now, it'll be easier later on, so you don't have to continuously go back to your profile and enter missing information, depending on what the employer needs. Within the profile, you can do your resume two ways. You can either create a resume using your USA Jobs profile, or you can upload a resume to your profile. So if you prefer to work with a resume in Word, that's maybe where you created it. You can upload your Word and PDF documents of your resume. So then when you go back to USA Jobs and you're ready to start your job search, here I've given you a sample one, so you'll see with the blue arrow. We're looking for a supply technician job with the red arrow in Las Vegas, Nevada. And you can hit the search, which is shown by the green arrow. Here are the results that kind of pop up and give you an idea of what it looks like. We're going to select the first one, which is a supply technician with the VA. You'll see on the right-hand side there's information about the different hiring paths, which I'll go through in a little bit. But that way you can use to filter some of the results that you're getting from your job search. If you notice, there's only 8 positions that come up, but if I was just to use supply technician and not put a location, it could be upwards of 1,000. So filtering is a good way to kind of make sure that you're applying to jobs that apply to you. So if you aren't a current federal employee, you want to make sure that it has open to public. So like I said, we're going to select the first one. So here's the supply technician opening. You'll see by all the colorful arrows, the most important aspects are to make sure you look at the requirements, what required documentation you're required to add, and how to apply. Again, on the right, you'll see the federal employees can apply, and individuals with disabilities. If you scroll down, you'll see veterans can apply as well. The most important thing about a federal position, like with any position, is to make sure that you're qualified to be applying for the job. If you're not, if you don't meet the minimum qualifications, you're likely not going to move on to the next step and you won't be referred for the position. So it's important to read through, make sure you understand not only what the requirements are, but also that you're attaching all the required documentation. So you can actually click on each of the sections at the top, or you can scroll down and be able to access them as well. As I discussed, there is specific hiring paths as to which you can apply for a position. So if it's open to the general public, obviously it's anybody in the general public. If you're a veteran, you can apply for the veteran positions, federal employees. Sometimes those are specific to whatever, like if you're applying to a position like the last one at the VA, they're looking for a current federal employee of the VA. Military spouses, student and recent grads, individuals with disabilities. These are all different hiring paths in which you could potentially qualify to apply for the position. So one of the biggest hot topics, especially for veterans and spouses, are being able to get your 10-point and 5-point veteran preference. This is probably one of the most common things I work with my clients on, making sure that they are attaching the most proper documentation and also filling out this form as well. You don't just get the point just because you are. You have to make sure that you're providing your DD-214 and the required documentation that they're asking, so that when you are applying for the job, they know why you're getting the 10-point veteran preference. So this is the form in SF-15 that you'll have to fill out, and I link it there as well, but that just kind of gives you an example of what it looks like. Again, this presentation will be saved at the end, so you'll be able to access it, and you can click on all the hyperlinks from the saved presentation. Some of the other special hiring authorities are located here. Another one of more common ones that I see, it's not just for veterans, is Schedule A. PAVE, we can, once you become a PAVE client, we are able to write a Schedule A letter on your behalf with the proper documentation. So that could be another way to be able to get hired through a different hiring path and just open to the general public. All of the special hiring authorities are located at the link below that you can follow again later to kind of see which one you apply to, or you can also reach out to a PAVE counselor and we'll be able to assist. Some of the supporting documentation you'll need if you're a veteran, your DD-214, if you are applying for based on preference, you may need to attach your service-connected disability rating letter. If you are applying based on your education level, you'll need to attach your transcripts. If you're a military spouse who is looking for the military spouse preference, you'll likely have to attach your active duty orders, or your spouse's active duty orders, and then your marriage certificate. And then if you are a current federal employee, one of the biggest things you'll need is your 306, which is located here. If you are a federal employee and you're applying based on having previous time in the grade 1 below, you'll have to also attach your SF-50, which you can get from your HR department, and this just basically says the time that you've had in grade, so you're able to receive proper compensation for the experience that you've had. Some just general tips on applying. First of all, I think this is not something that everyone knows, but not all federal agencies have all their job postings on USA Jobs. So for instance, the big one that comes to my mind is USPS. They do not post their jobs on USA Jobs. You have to go to their website specifically to apply. Make sure your application is complete. When you are filling one out, you'll start out on USA Jobs, and then it'll generally take you to whatever department you're applying to. So if you're applying to the Department of Labor or the VA, you'll then go to their website. Just make sure your application and everything you need to attach is located in your profile, so you're able to complete the application before leaving USA Jobs to go to the next site. Modify your resume for each individual job posting. They're going to be looking for keywords as well. So it's important to make sure that, like at the beginning I mentioned, reading over requirements. There'll be a section on knowledge, skills, and abilities, so it's important to make sure you've modified your resume. And then on every job posting on USA Jobs, you also see some agency contact information. It might be a good idea to kind of keep record of it. Just make sure you know. But maybe later on, if you want to reach out to the employer to see where they are in the process, that might be helpful. Like I talked about a little bit before, tailoring your resume for the responsibilities, requirements, qualifications, knowledge. It's just important to make sure that if you've done any of those, like responsibilities, you're putting it in the resume. And we do have someone who talks about making a federal resume, so that would be a good PAVE Connect to attend as well. What to expect. So after you've completed the application, everything's complete, it'll bring you back to USA Jobs. You'll see that your application's been submitted. Then you can check later on in your profile and see if you've been referred for the position, which means that your resume is going on to the next step. Now, from there, they generally we'll pick some individuals and do an in-person interview, not always, but that's generally the process. One of the biggest questions I get is how long will it take to hear back? And it's all dependent on the agency. I wish I could give you like a specific, oh, you'll hear in a week. But I've had people who've applied and been referred for positions, and it's been 6 months to a year before they hear anything back. And that's not normal per se, but it depends on the agency. So one of the biggest things I have to say is keep applying. Even if you found your dream job and you know exactly that this is what you want to do, I mean, it could take 6 months till you hear anything. So it's important to keep applying, keep seeing what's out there. Another tip is kind of print out the knowledge, skills, and abilities questions so that you know what they are. So when you do go to the interview, hopefully, you'll be able to have an idea of what kind of questions they're going to be asking. And from some of the federal agencies I've spoken to, they always recommend being on both lists. So let's say there's an opening for, like the position we were looking at as a supply tech. They have one that's just open to the public, and then they'll also have one that's open specifically to Schedule A or veterans or federal competitive employment. It's important that you can be on both lists, so be on the open opportunity as well as the special hiring opportunity. You're on both, because sometimes the employer is only going to pull Schedule A. Sometimes they're going to pull open to the public. So if you are on both lists, on both openings, you're going to have more likelihood that your resume is going to be seen. Here are just a few resources. Obviously, USA Jobs and the PAVE program, we can be found there, and just some different information on hiring paths. USA Jobs does have some events, so they will have occasional webinars, kind of like we're doing today, about federal resumes and how to apply as well. So it might be good to also get it straight from the source. OPM also has a list of frequently asked questions that I think can be helpful sometimes. And that's it. Any questions?